When they come to you with problems, ask, "What do you recommend?" Be patient and let the example of others in the group with high-level initiative agreements speak for themselves. What if the system I work in is win-lose? Suppose you're a manager of a small department and you really believe in a team management approach. You've worked with your team to create a mission statement, and that mission statement has really worked well. All the team members buy into it. They like it. They're excited about it. It's empowered them. They have a sense of stewardship. But you're in an organizational arrangement that forces you to rank, "Here is our problem. What do you suggest?" If your trust level is high, you can generate genuine third alternative solutions together. Depending on your circle of influence and the trust you have with others, your efforts to change the system may spread to affect the entire organization. If you're patient and persistent and you operate in harmony with correct principles, the positive change you create may benefit everyone. What if there's a scarcity reality? In a large oil organization one time, someone said, "What happens in bad times? What happens when you're into significant downsizing?" Another person stood up and said, "I'll tell you what happens. We not only downsized, we closed an entire plant." He proceeded to tell us how their senior executives involved everyone in the problem from the beginning. They were seeking to understand, going for synergy and win-win. Together they looked at the economic and financial data, their industry, their company situation. Everyone could see the economic realities that were spelling doom for the plant. It was obsolete. The market was drying up. They could all see that this was not a salvageable operation. So together they focused their attention on outplacement work. The day the plant closed, the media came in expecting to see picket lines, protests, anger, and hostility. Instead, they were amazed to see a huge Kentucky Fried Chicken farewell party. There was such a high sense of trust in the culture because of the openness of the senior executives in involving people in the problem and working out the solution together. What if the situation changes? What happens when you get a new boss, when the department you're in is reorganized, when you find out that the desired results are no longer desirable? And what about changes outside the organization? How do you account for the changing environment? What happens when the supplier changes, or the stock market crashes, or market trends take a sudden turn? How do you compensate for all these things within the framework of the agreement? The assumption in creating a stewardship agreement is that the situation will change. It's not a legal agreement. People aren't running scared of it. It's built on trust. It's not designed to tie people down, but to free them up. It's a better form of communication and clarification around expectations. It's designed to change with changing situations. It can be opened by either party at any time. It's a living document. What if I'm afraid to rock the boat? A participant in one of our programs, a manager in a major corporation, shared this experience. One day I was sitting in a company meeting where people were discussing important policies that could have a significant negative impact on the environment. As I sat there, I came to the realization that while I felt very strongly about these issues, I was essentially silent. Why? I asked myself. Why am I afraid to open my mouth? When I was hired into this company from the outside years ago, I had no fear. I openly expressed my feelings and concerns. I was confident. I felt I could act with integrity. What's made the difference? As I thought about it, I realized that since that time, I had acquired substantial retirement benefits. I'd bought a new home. I was making payments on a new boat. Essentially, I didn't want to do anything that might jeopardize my economic security. I realized the golden handcuffs held me bound. At that point, I made two resolutions: to get my financial affairs in order and build up some reserves, and to continually improve my marketability. I never again wanted to be in a position where my integrity was compromised by my dependence on a job. This manager reported that he later walked into a staff meeting, handed each person a newspaper, and told them to turn to the want ads. "Look them over," he said. "See if any of the jobs that are advertised look better than the one you presently have." They did, and many of them found jobs that looked really good. "All right," he said, "go check them out. See if you can qualify for those jobs. Come back and share your experience. When they returned the following day, most of them had been shocked to discover that they couldn't qualify. The jobs required new skills, new knowledge, and information they didn't have. This manager shared his personal experience with them and encouraged his staff to build their security on their capacity instead of their job. If you find yourself afraid to act authentically, to speak courageously, to challenge the assumptions, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your organization. Examine your fears and free yourself so that you can be and give your best. What if the people I work with aren't trustworthy? What if you have serious doubts about the people you work with? What if you question their competency or even their character? How do you establish a stewardship agreement built on trust? Here are some key principles. 1. Look into your own heart first. Success is always inside out. Start with yourself. How do you see this person? Could your paradigm be part of the problem? Do you genuinely want this person to succeed? Do you believe that this person has the capacity to grow and develop? It's our experience that most people are not intentionally incompetent. Neither are they purposefully mean, duplicitous, or manipulative. They just don't have their act together yet. Often, negative judgments about character grow out of misunderstandings. Assume good intentions. Your deeply held beliefs about someone will create the tone for any interactions you have. Character and competence are always on a continuum. Make sure your paradigms are true to principle. 2. Nurture self-accountability and self-government. It's important to realize that we are not ultimately responsible for the development of anyone else. We can never really change someone. People must change themselves. But we can help. We can be a resource. We can nurture, encourage, and support. We can be a leader-servant. Use the stewardship agreement as a vehicle for growth. It's flexible enough to deal with a broad range of character and competence. Adjust the agreement to meet the situation. Be realistic and clear about the desired results. Talk them through. You don't do anyone a favor by artificially creating a soft set of expectations. Make sure you represent the interests of all involved, the company, the family, or the work group, as well as the individual. In some cases, employees may even self-select out of their current job and move to another position more suited to their skills. Discuss the guidelines. Should more guidelines be established? Maybe you'd like to have more frequent communication. Discuss the level of initiative. Perhaps level 2 is as high as you want to go at this point. As performance improves, it can be adjusted upward. Look at the resources. What might be particularly helpful? Give the person every chance to succeed. Perhaps the agreement could include support for attending evening classes or a company training course, or goals for a personal reading program. In a family, it might include certain skills for family members to work on, identifying parents as a resource in their development. Talk specifically about accountability and consequences. Use shorter-term accountability. Help people develop the ability to evaluate their own performance against the criteria. Again, you gain nothing by being artificially soft or artificially hard. Deal with the realities. Help people see the results of their behavior. Sometimes it's best to offer direct feedback. Don't set yourself up as the judge and jury. Be a source of help. Focus your feedback around the elements of the stewardship agreement. Let the agreement govern. As you look at the agreement together in a non-threatening environment, defenses are down and principles do the teaching. Encourage people to access their inner compasses. Ask questions such as, how do you feel about your performance as it relates to this agreement? How do you think your coworkers feel about your involvement? Create self-awareness. Help them see the logical outcomes of their current level of performance. With clear communication and trustworthiness on your part, people will be open to learning and growth. Their own conscience can instruct. You may want to suggest that a person gather feedback from others as well. It may be that this person is unaware of how his or her behavior affects others. This feedback must be given in a dignified way, directly to the individual and not to you. If a person is highly dependent on others' opinions, he or she will likely have serious blind spots, weaknesses that are too sensitive to be admitted to consciousness. If people are too vulnerable and sensitive, you can involve them in professional development dealing with weaknesses they're aware of. Gradually, they'll gain security and be open to blind spot feedback. Generally speaking, once relatively secure people get this 360-degree feedback on their blind spots, it brings them down to earth. It tends to puncture egotistical tendencies. It humbles them. Even though they may not acknowledge it or express appreciation, it will have its effect. It's very important at those times to give extra support and attention so that they know you care about them. They must know that you have no secret delight in telling them what they really need to hear. If the person you don't trust is your boss, open communication is just as valuable. Give honest feedback based on the criteria in the agreement. It may take a long time to build the trust you want. If you feel you can't express your concerns or find that the person is unwilling to change, you may want to explore other positions or employment opportunities. Working in an environment of mistrust is a drain on you and on the organization. The fact that people aren't perfect shouldn't hold back your efforts to create a high-trust environment. Don't take the easy way out by reverting to a hard-line, domineering style of interaction. Establishing excessive controls to protect against the problems of a few people will affect the performance of the entire organization. As the insightful leadership of one company observed in their annual report, trusting people to be creative and constructive when given more freedom does not imply an overly optimistic belief in the perfectibility of human nature. It is rather a belief that the inevitable errors and sins of the human condition are far better overcome by individuals working together in an environment of trust, freedom, and mutual respect than by individuals working under a multitude of rules, regulations, and restraints imposed upon them by another group of imperfect people. What happens when someone makes a mistake? In a high-trust culture, honest mistakes are taken for what they are, an opportunity to learn. If at first you don't succeed, find out why. Communicate. Open a dialogue. Discover what can be gained from the experience. And then move ahead. It's not a win for the organization if people are afraid to take risks, if they're constantly scared of getting shot out of the saddle. People are not truly self-governing unless they are free to fail. One manager said, "Things come up all the time where independent decisions need to be made. As a manager, I want these people to be fully functioning, empowered human beings, using their best judgment to create their job as they go along. I know that's the way to get their hearts and not just their hands. The agreement we have is that if they make a mistake, it's my fault, but if they make it again, it's their fault. They're covered to make an empowered decision." If the same mistake is consistently repeated, this is an indicator that the agreement may be out of sync with reality. There may be a need for more frequent communication and accountability. Perhaps the situation has changed. Perhaps the expectations are not as clear as you thought. Perhaps new knowledge or a new skill is needed. There are so many reasons why errors may occur that you rarely gain anything by coming unglued when people make a mistake. That one act will send a clear signal throughout the culture of your group or organization, a signal that may snuff out the creativity and initiative you need to be competitive. Rather than pulling out your six-shooter, pull out the agreement. Look at it carefully. Discuss it together. Be open and honest. Give clear feedback. Make what changes need to be made, and then move on. The miracle of the Chinese bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree is planted after the earth is prepared, and for the first 4 years, all of the growth is underground. The only thing visible above the ground is a little bulb and a small shoot coming out of it. Then, in the 5th year, the bamboo tree grows up to 80 feet. Principle-centered leaders understand the metaphor of the bamboo tree. They understand the value of working in Quadrant 2. They know what it means to pay the price to prepare the ground, to plant the seed, and to fertilize and cultivate and water and weed, even when they can't see immediate results, because they have faith that ultimately they will reap the fruits in the harvest. And what wonderful fruits they are! Your organization's culture is the one competitive advantage that cannot be duplicated. Technology can be copied, information can be acquired, capital can be bought, but the ability of your organization to collaborate effectively, to work in quadrant 2, to put first things first, cannot be bought, transferred, or installed. A high-trust, empowered culture is always homegrown. The same is true for a family or any other group of people. A quality culture must be nourished over time. Only by acting in harmony with correct principles, exercising patience, humility, and courage, and working within your circle of influence, can you transform yourself and positively influence your organization. You can only create empowerment from the inside out. The power and peace of principle-centered living. What are the results of a quadrant 2 lifestyle? When first things are first, when we see things in terms of principles, when we pause in the space between stimulus and response, when we act on the basis of importance, what difference does it make in our lives? In this last section of the book, we'll show how the fourth generation literally changes the things you do and the reasons why you do them. You'll see how the clock and the compass combine with new maps to create a life of happiness, fulfillment, and tremendous results. We'll identify the keystones as well as the chief obstacles to a principle-centered life. We'll talk about courage and confidence in life's turning points. Principle-centered living is not an end in itself. It's the means and the end. It's the quality of our travel along life's road. It's the power and peace we experience each day as we accomplish what matters most. In a principle-centered life, the journey and the destination are one. From time management to personal leadership. Management works in the system, leadership works on the system. At the beginning of this book, we said the fourth generation is different in kind. More than time management, it's personal leadership. It's not just a new process in an old paradigm, it's a new process in a new paradigm. We'd like to take a look now at the difference personal leadership makes where the rubber meets the road in daily living, at the office, in the family, in a work team or group. As we go through these examples, we realize they probably will not represent your circumstances exactly. But don't get caught in the example. Look for the principle in practice. Look for the difference in thinking. Then apply the principle in your own situation. Think of the impact the fourth generation has on time and quality of life. Monday morning at the office. Suppose it's a typical Monday morning. You're an account manager in the marketing division of your company. You belong to a team of account managers, each of whom manages 30 to 40 accounts. You have your own office, and you share a secretary with 2 other account managers. You did your weekly planning last night, and you've just sat down to review your day. You create the following list of items and estimate the time it will take to do each of them. The items with an asterisk represent high-leverage quadrant 2 activities you wanted to do today. Prepare for tomorrow's meeting with the McKinley account representative who is coming to town tomorrow to review pricing and negotiate a bulk purchase. 3 hours. Develop and fax proposal to Jameson Industries by end of day. 2 hours. Call 10 people on the account development list. 15 minutes to 1 hour. Have lunch with Bill to discuss Waffenden account strategies. 1 hour, 30 minutes. Go through memos and mail stack. 1 hour. Retrieve internal email messages. 17 messages, 15 minutes. Retrieve phone voicemail messages. 10 minutes. Complete refiling. 1 hour. In addition to what you had planned, several things have come up that require your attention. 2 messages have been placed on your desk. Shipment did not arrive at Key Anderson account. This is the 2nd time this month. Quality Council meeting scheduled for Wednesday has been moved to today at 3 p.m., 2 hours. You're informed that the secretary has been assigned to one of the other account managers for a big project and is unavailable for you today. Your boss dropped by while you were reviewing this list and asked if you could prepare a quick 3-month projection by product for your largest accounts. He needs to take this to report to the division manager by 2 p.m., 1 hour. How would you approach this day? To get the most out of this example, you might want to get out a piece of paper and rough out a schedule. What would you do first? What would you do next? How would you handle the challenges to your plans? How long would you be at the office? What would you be like at the end of the day? One approach would be to ask yourself, which of these activities is most important? What can I safely postpone? What can I delegate? What can I get out of? What can I do more quickly? How can I arrange my schedule to accomplish what is most critical? If you were to follow that approach, you might be able to reschedule a few things, maybe your lunch with Bill, the refiling, and the account development calls. You could delegate the task of tracking down the Anderson shipment. You could arrange your schedule to accomplish what you felt was most important, perhaps the Jameson proposal, the McKinley preparation, the memos, the email and voicemail messages, the account projections. You might even make it to the Quality Council meeting. You may schedule the day differently, but let's say you took this basic approach. How would you feel about your day? Would you feel that you had managed to put first things first in a difficult situation? Now consider this question. What will your next Monday be like? Or the Monday after that? What about all the Mondays for the rest of your life? Will you essentially be facing the same challenges? Although the specifics may differ, will the basic nature of the challenges be the same? This is the fruit of the third generation. If nothing changes, you will essentially be delegating, postponing, and getting out of things for the rest of your life. Is that really putting first things first? How is the fourth generation approach different? Rather than activities and appointments, you see your day in terms of people and relationships. You see processes in progress as new possibilities for contribution to the mission of the organization. It's not only a matter of when to do things, but whether or not to do them at all. It's asking questions of why and how as well as when. It's consulting your compass as well as your clock. In making your decisions, you'd want to pause and connect with conscience. You'd want to ask with intent, listen without excuse, and act with courage. As you decide what's most important for you to do, you'd want to think about the conditions of empowerment and consider where you could focus your effort with the greatest positive long-term result. You might want to begin by questioning the very nature of each activity. How did this activity come about? Why am I doing it now? What are the underlying reasons for the activity? What are the ultimate objectives? Does this activity contribute to the purpose of the organization? Is this the highest and best use of my capacities and our combined resources? The answers to questions such as these would determine the action you decide to take. In almost all cases, you would want to improve the underlying system. You would see tasks not as things to do, but as indicators of a larger process that you want to improve. Let's look at a few items on the list to see how this would play out. As we examine these items, we'll suggest some possible Quadrant 2 decisions. You might choose something different. That's fine. The point is to get a feel for the basic process. 1. The Jameson proposal. Let's think about this activity. Why is it being done at the last minute? When did you know about it? What is your system for making proposals? What is your basic paradigm around proposals? Do other account managers have a better way to do it? Suppose you realize that it's due today because that's when you said you would do it. You are anxious to get the business, to let them know you are eager, so you made a bold promise. I'll have it to you by Monday afternoon. But does that really meet their needs? Was it an unrealistic expectation? Was it an unnecessary expectation? When will they actually review the proposal? Is there a format they like best? It may turn out that they would like to have it today. In that case, you would simply need to get it done. But it may work out better to clarify expectations with them today and work on the proposal tomorrow with a better understanding of what they really need. In any case, what about future proposals? Is there something you could do today that would create greater leverage in the future? Could you create effective synergy with others on your team around proposals? Could you establish some standard formats that would be helpful? As you consider this question, you may begin to realize that the account managers spend very little time communicating with each other. Part of it is because of the competitive feeling you have between you. You're paid on commission, and that tends to pit you against each other. You realize that people hold their best ideas and methods close to the chest, and yet the people who can benefit from the business are the very ones you're competing against. Why is this happening? What can you do to change things? Is compensation within your circle of influence? What can you do to make a difference? Perhaps today you could send out a memo to your coworkers and set up an appointment to include your two coworkers later in the week and start the process of creating a stewardship agreement around shared resources. Ask questions, listen, look at the desired results. What would constitute a win for everyone? It may be helpful for the secretary to sort the mail, memos, email, and phone messages for all of you. Those items that needed your immediate attention could be prioritized and placed on your desks. The rest could be put in a file for later review. If the secretary isn't yet able to make decisions about the prioritization of this information, work with him or her. Communicate your criteria. Help that person become more capable. Nurture self-government and self-accountability. Build capacity. 4. The revenue projection. You'll probably decide to prepare the revenue projection for the boss today, but perhaps you could ask yourself some questions. Why does my boss need this today? What information am I not supplying regularly that creates this urgent need now? Is there a system I could set up so that the information would be readily available? Is there a chance that other account managers need to communicate the same information? Can we set up something together and share the information whenever we need it? Today you could get yourself on the agenda for the next account managers meeting. You could draft a proposal around what can be done on this system to help everyone. 5. The Quality Council. Why has the Quality Council meeting been moved up? It's a strange meeting. You never know what's on the agenda. People are never effectively prepared. You aren't either. This has been going on for quite a while. You suspect that when you talk to the shipping manager about preparing a presentation for the Quality Council, he may say that's the last group he wants to be involved with. It's seen as a waste of time. The credibility is low. So what can you do to make a difference? Maybe the thing to do is call the chair of the Quality Council. Explain that you have a major proposal and report to generate today, and you won't be able to switch times, but you would like to get on the agenda for the next meeting. You have a 10-minute presentation on applying principles of quality to the meetings. You may also suggest that you're going to be working with shipping on an opportunity for quality improvement, and will get in touch in a few days to see when that can be put on the agenda. We've only touched on a few of the items on the list, but consider the difference. Instead of simply managing problems, you're working on solutions. You're building people and synergistic relationships. You're nurturing a quadrant 2 mindset in yourself and others. You're looking at a schedule and seeing opportunities for improvement. Where others see isolated events, you see systems. Of course, you're still going to have a busy day and a lot to do, and it's not realistic to believe that everything will totally change in one day. But you're taking some steps to build margin. You're making quadrant 2 opportunities out of quadrant 1 and quadrant 3 items. You're working on the roots. You're making sure that next Monday won't be essentially the same thing all over again. You're setting the stage for significant improvements downstream. You're putting your ladder against a different wall. Sunday morning with the family. When we start to look through a leadership instead of a management paradigm, we begin to see opportunities in places we never really thought of before. One of our associates demonstrates this well. Like some who have families, he and his wife used to take a few minutes once a week to sit down with their children and try to coordinate the rides, the lessons, and the many other activities of normal family life. They had been doing this regularly for some time, but at one point they decided this could be an opportunity for leadership as well as management. They changed the format of their time together so that now, instead of diving right into the schedule, they begin by reviewing their family mission statement. They talk about what it means to be a family. They discuss what everyone can do to make the family successful. They review their progress. They revisit their principles and values. Then they discuss each of their roles as they pertain to the family: son, daughter, sister, brother, student, friend. They take a few minutes during the planning time to help the children set a principle-based goal to improve in each role, such as working together on chores or asking about each other's day. These goals are simple and geared to the capacity of each child. The older ones do a little more, the younger ones do a little less. They all learn by example and talk about it. Every week they put the calendar on the refrigerator where everyone can see it. They block out time to work on some of the goals and join activities, to be together as a family, to go to school plays, for mom and dad to go out on a date. They put the big rocks in first. It's taken some time, but members of the family are beginning to learn about relationships and how they can make a difference together. This man reports, "My 7-year-old recently told us she realized it makes sense to help her sister with her chores because her sister, in turn, will help her. She said that she doesn't hate doing her chores anymore." Different families may do it differently, but to involve every member of the family in understanding what they want to accomplish and in deciding how to work together to accomplish it is empowering. Instead of a hassle, planning becomes a time of positive interaction and sharing. Our associate shares this thought. One of the most significant insights in the value of this process came when, as part of a family game, our 4-year-old was asked to identify something hanging on her bedroom wall. Of all the things hanging on the wall, a Beauty and the Beast picture, an Aladdin poster, and assorted drawings she's done herself, she chose her copy of the family mission statement. I was deeply touched by her answer. I became more strongly aware of the influence for good we can have over our children, as well as the importance of understanding and recognizing the good that's already in them. We sometimes fail to think of our role in the family as a leadership role, but what an opportunity for impact. One of the greatest legacies we can leave our children is a sense of purpose and responsibility to correct principles. Any morning with your team or work group. What about a team at work, a department, a whole organization? How can we look at the tasks we do, the challenges we approach day to day, in ways that make a significant positive difference in the way we plan and organize? Most teams typically do some sort of planning. They look at budget requirements or sales figures and determine what has to be done to meet their production obligations. They look at goals. They talk about the pressures and politics they have to face. Then they go down the list, make specific assignments, set up dates, create follow-up systems, and move ahead. Suppose you're part of such a team. How could you transform the planning process into a leadership activity? What if you were to begin the planning meeting by reviewing your group's mission and vision? What if you evaluated the last cycle's performance against the mission and learned from it? You might ask questions such as, what led us toward our mission? What led us away? What processes got in the way of accomplishing our mission? Were we true to correct principles? How can we create better alignment? What if you were to look at the various roles and functions and evaluate them against the mission, asking questions such as these? Are we streamlined? Are there processes that could be improved? Who are the people involved? Who would like to be involved? Who needs to be involved? What principles apply? What can we do to help release the capacities of individuals? Can we create effective synergy among the tasks or goals? Are there things the team should start doing? Are there things the team should stop doing? How empowering are the stewardship agreements? Do we share common expectations? There are literally an infinite number of questions you could ask. It doesn't matter whether you're a formal team or organizational leader. Work within your circle of influence. Ask questions. Listen. Create a pause for the team or group. Help people reflect. How can we transform the nature of our effectiveness to a new level? How can we move forward dramatically? These are not management questions. These are leadership questions. These are quadrant 2 questions. They represent the difference of the fourth generation.